Hey y'all, some of you might know that I'm a family nurse practitioner if you watch my other videos. I'm a provider in an urgent care / walk-in clinic. The healthcare system I work for is one of the largest around, and all of this amounts to us being kept abreast of what's going on and what we can do to combat it. Our single biggest enemy, however, what we must combat with all of our might, is fear.
And I am certain that on this day, my fellow Americans expect that on my induction into the presidency, I will address them with a candor and a decision which the present situation of our people impels. This is preeminently the time to speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly. Nor need we shrink from honestly facing conditions in our country today. This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and will prosper. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance.
That was taken from Franklin Delano Roosevelt's first inaugural speech. It's as true now as it was back then. We are a nation that is being fueled on fear at the present time. We are devolving into a selfish and greedy existence. These are our most base instincts, and they're nothing new. They are instincts that we willfully suppress in order to form societies with rules and law. Unfortunately, we only have a very thin veneer of being civilized that covers it up, like a thin candy coating. Now that's about as down as I'm going to get in this video, so please hang in there. Our news seems to get worse every day. More cases of COVID-19 are being reported and more deaths from the virus are taking place. As the number rises, the panic increases, mostly fueled by a mainstream media that thrives on panic and the social media that would broadcast decapitated corpses just to get a few views. The most base part of us buys into this. We swim in it. Panic, fear, tragedy, it all gives us a reason to be alive, to feel our existence, to fully be there. It's a shame that it takes something like this. Here's the deal. Mark my words. This will only get worse. Mark my words. It can only get worse. New cases will rise exponentially and deaths will increase, mostly along the same curve. Why is that? It's for the exact opposite reasons you might be thinking. We will soon begin mass testing as kits become available, and that testing is going to identify more and more cases that would simply have gone under the radar without it. These would be people who thought they had some allergies or simple cold or a mild case of the flu, but we never would have known about it without the testing, so those numbers are going to jump. Deaths will rise also because our baser instincts will tell some people that those rules are too much, too restrictive, and they don't have to kowtow to any local, state, or national recommendations. If you remember, I think my second coronavirus video, I said I had forgotten one factor in this, and that was the human factor, that need to be selfish and to get what you want. Then there are going to be those people who simply can't hunker down in one place because they have needs that will force them to leave the house. to get their medicine, to get medical care, to get food, that sort of a thing. But they might get into situations where too many people are congregating together, and that will promulgate the situation. Here's my first piece of advice. Try not to leave your home, and certainly don't throw any parties. Go through your pantries and eat that food that you've been ignoring. Get online and order your supplies and have them delivered directly to your doorstep. The government's making sure that these companies that do that have all the help they need. I did leave my house today to go to Chick-fil-A. As many of you know, this is my guilty addiction, and things have changed there. You can't go inside. If you want food, you have to go through the drive-through line, or you have to park curbside and use the app, which is what I normally do anyway because it's quicker. I'm sure many restaurants are doing this, and a lot of them already have these apps like McDonald's and Whataburger. And if you don't know what Whataburger is, I'm sorry for you. I think this is another appropriate way to get food, going to the curbside to get it, because there's very little contact. Now, sorry, I have to relate a story from my trip to Chick-fil-A. And I probably shouldn't laugh at it. I had just had my food brought to my car, and I'd pulled to a non-curbside space to eat my breakfast. And there's a couple in this black Volkswagen, if you're watching this, you know who you are, who had kind of pulled out into the middle of a lane sideways so nobody could get around. And I looked at them to see what they were possibly doing, and they were wiping down the outsides of their bags with the handy wipes and then cleansing their hands with the sanitizer. Now, don't get me wrong, I applaud their diligence in preventing the spread of the virus. But what were they going to do about the food? I don't think it would taste very good with hand sanitizer sauce. The barbecue sauce is really a much better alternative. At my work, we now have directives to gown up for each patient that we see. They have to go through a screening process before they ever get back to see us to see how high their chances that they have this virus. And then they are appropriately gowned, face masks, and so on. Guys, medical workers are truly the front lines of this. We are the first responders to this national emergency. That goes from our housekeepers that are mopping the floors or doing terminal cleans on contaminated areas, to our x-ray techs, our lab techs, certified medical assistants, LVNs, RNs, mid-level providers, physicians, and everyone else I failed to mention. In my clinic, I am constantly inside my patient's bubble in order to do their exam. I'm going to get up real close to you while I'm listening to your lungs or looking in your ears or looking in your throat. And people, we are seeing a lot of patients. Here's my next piece of advice. Don't come to see me if you just have sniffles or a cough. You probably have a common cold or some allergies, and they will take care of themselves. And now is not the time to come see me for that rash that you've had on and off for the last year, or that low back pain that keeps giving you fits. If you come, we are going to see you, but you put more stress on an already overloaded system, and you do potentially expose yourself to worse things than your ringworm. At some point, this is all going to get back to normal, and then I would love to see you. How is this virus spread? Well, it's a virus. They love to party. They love to party hardy. Think of the common cold, the flu, many cases of bronchitis, AIDS, herpes, that norovirus people get on cruise ships that cause widespread gastrointestinal illness, and numerous cases of soiled underwear. Here's the key and my next piece of advice. You have to be where the virus is in order to get infected. It's spread by people coughing, sneezing, or you touching an infected object or surface and then touching yourself. When people cough or sneeze, the invisible droplets hang in the air and they slowly filter to the ground over a period of minutes, or they filter to the countertop, or they filter to the doorknob. You can walk right through a cloud of virus without having a clue that you did so. When you go shopping, clean that shopping cart handle with the supplied wipes if there's any left. That's good advice at all times, and advice I will ashamedly admit that I'm not good at following through on. Panic buying. That needs to stop. There's plenty to go around, and it'll be a lot easier for stores to keep stock if people just buy at the normal rate. The panic buying that's occurring now relates back to our base instincts of survival. I need this item, and this item seems to be disappearing, so I'm going to go out and buy as much of this item as I possibly can. Now, you may be one of the people, as I am, who doesn't panic buy. But when you start to see pictures of local stores with no toilet paper or hand sanitizer on the shelves, you start to worry about covering your own butt. Literally. I personally like to wipe after a sit-down job. It really means a lot to me. So as soon as I saw those pictures, I got on Amazon to do some bulk buying. But I quickly found out that other people were quicker on the draw than I was, and there was precious little to be found. I did find a box of Georgia Pacific 2-ply, so I ordered that. All the remaining stuff looked like it still had wood fiber and twigs in it, not real high quality. Another funny story that I read is the two brothers bought up every bit of hand sanitizer that they could find, about 18,000 units. Their idea was that they would get online and sell it at a high profit. Makes sense. They admit readily that their plan was to take advantage of the situation. The only problem is that the online sellers have anti-gouging policies in place, and they were quickly kicked off and left wondering what to do with tens of thousands of dollars worth of product. They finally decided to do the right thing, God bless them, and they donated it. So that leads me to my next piece of advice. Be kind to your neighbors. We don't have a lot of extra anything at our house at this point. However, I will share what I can. A roll of TP or a bottle of water can go a long way. These are the people who will still be around after this is over. And what better way to have a great neighbor than to be one yourself? You're still going to have to leave your house at some point. There's no way around it. The president's team is recommending gatherings of no more than 10 people, except for certain circumstances. They realize people still have to go to the doctor and to go out and get food. My next piece of advice is just keep these sojourns as brief as possible and as few as possible. If you can use the Walmart app to have them deliver it to your car rather than going inside, do that. Go through the drive-through window at the pharmacy. Just think it through before you leave the house. Above all, good hand washing is paramount. Not just when you're out, but even when you're in your safe haven that you call home. The economy gives me a headache just thinking about it. The stock market crash and recession were completely predictable. It can't be blamed on any political party. It just can't, so please don't go there. We're starting to see a little more bipartisanship in Washington because of this crisis. Will it last? Well, did all the love and hugs in New York last after 9/11? If you don't have anything in the stock market, sit on it. It's probably worth much less than it was, but it will rebound. If you sell it now, then you simply accept that loss. Did our economy have to tank the way it did? To a large degree, we follow the trends of the world's markets, but I still blame the mainstream media for stoking these fears and massive sell-offs. When this is over, we need to take a long, hard look at the media. I'm sorry. Speaking of which, next piece of advice, don't believe everything you see and read on social media. There is so much ignorance out there that makes my head want to implode. What I've started doing is leaving a message saying something to this effect. Hey, I have a YouTube channel that's covering this crisis, and could you please post a link to the information that you're citing, because I would love to talk about it in my next video. For the most part, what I get in return are crickets, utter silence. There's no way on earth they could link me to a source. They just heard it and repeated it. I have gotten comments from other viewers applauding the technique. Try it out, it works. I did have one person give me a link to what they were referring to, and it did back up what they were saying. I loved it. Let's sum it up for this edition. This will get worse before it gets better, because it has to. We will not contain this virus forever. It will get out, but we can flatten out the curve by following the advice being given to us by our state and local and national governments. Most people who get the virus will either not really know they have it, or they will have only mild symptoms. The people most likely to have a really hard time with it or to die are those people over 60, those with weakened immune systems, heart disease, respiratory disease, and other comorbid conditions that put you behind the 8 ball to start with. Be really aware of those people and do whatever you can to make sure you do not expose them. This virus eventually is going to go underground, most likely when the weather gets warmer. The question is whether or not it will reemerge when it gets cold again like the flu season does, and whether or not we will have an effective vaccine by that time. Experts are saying 8 to 12 months for that, so we'll see. Don't panic buy and don't panic sell. You will regret doing either of those things. Take social media with a grain of salt. If they cannot provide resources to back up their story, check it out for yourself. Please don't let their ignorance guide your way of thinking. Most of all, love one another. Find your kindness and compassion and ramp it up a few notches. Test your own patience by not jumping the gun. Don't be selfish. Selfishness is the medium upon which this crisis grows and mutates. Know this, please. I love you all, and I pray for all of us daily. Thank you for watching.